So namaskar everybody. So welcoming you all this in this new video. So here in this video, by the thumbnail, you have gotten that what are the topics that we would going to discuss in this as like. So coming to point is like in this video we are going in a surprising way talk about the US, whatever the hegemony that US has proceeded in the world, and there are a lot of things that you are going to get out from this video at the, as like that whatever you have not thought about US, whatever you have not think about US diplomacy, whatever you have not gotten about how the geopolitics work. Okay, so let me start that video whenever uh, saying that one of the whenever the US came out, there is a word that hegemony. Maybe you have heard about or not. I would guessing that maybe, but that how the US hegemony works out, you will get to know that. So whenever you heard about the 190 countries, as like you surprisingly really thought about that there are 190 countries and they have all the sovereign policies, and whatever the control they want to make, they could do so. Okay, but when you see out the things like 190 countries are there, and let me say there are a lot of examples. Okay, uh, Iranian regime is like recently has gotten attacked by US. Maybe you couldn't say clearly that what the US wanted from there. Maybe it want to control its supply chains of like oil, as like Iran has been sanctioned from US. But yeah, when you see the case of Venezuela, as like it's clear message for the world that yeah, we want the control of the things, or like oil resources, whatever the filter like mineral resources, we want the control, and the world should be kept in our hands to put the things. Okay, and you have also see the case of as like Russian oil. It's like whenever the Russian oil has come out, it was the US who has sanctioned the countries, like who has bought it, especially India. Like we have seen that how the India has been sanctioned over the Russian oil, and the US is like totally busted, as like US totally busted that we want to keep you away from buying the Russian oil. So is it not the, so is it this the sovereignty that you does like proceed out your hegemony towards other, that we want this and you should do this. So whenever you conclude the things as like Iraqi war, Iraq was the, like a country where this the Iraq want de-dollarization against the, as like there was petrodollar agreement. I think so. You have heard about that, that the dollar and the chemicals should be as like attached with itself. But the when the Iraq was as like gotten as like no, we won't sell the uh, whatever the chemicals only in Iraq as like in a dollar form, but we also want the countries to buy in their old as like in their indigenous currencies. But what the US has did with Iraq, and there are a lot of as like examples that you could see out. Okay, uh, next after that, whenever you talk about how the US control the world, whenever as like we thought of that how anyone control the world, as like so you could get this thing by example as like suppose that whenever the control word came in your mind, that should be as the key factor. It isn't that like uh, your father and mother are controlling. Yeah, it's maybe same thing, but yeah, there is a word that is leverage. Okay, it's not the as like the world is working on the principles of morality, that yeah, I'm as like you are gotten injured and I want to, yeah, I am moral person and I want to treat you. It's not that. It's not the geopolitics how the youth thought of that it works. It is the word leverage. If any country is helping you, if any country is as like giving you aid, if any country is giving you uh, resources free, of course it's not free. They want you from there something, they want something from you, and it's not that they will give you morality. Yeah, you are in a disaster, we would help you. It isn't that, isn't it that? Okay, the world today works on leverage. That is the most important, as I think that any diplomat will tell you is that. So here, whenever you talk about us how control the world, it works on the leverage system. Okay, as like today when you see out in India, so suppose we want to as like call out all the companies. Okay, today we want that YouTube should be banned, WhatsApp should be banned, Google should be banned. Can we do it as like if we even if we have alternative options, so many alternative options. Okay, and we want to do these things in a like in a straightforward that no, we want the independent from US. So can we do it? Let me suppose that if we do it, there are like many sectors that is like we are totally dependent on US. When you talk about tech sector, whenever you talk about as like various machineries as like critical mining machineries, which totally is like the China don't import us, like export to us. So we are totally heavily dependent on US, and many key sectors uh, as like when you talk about various chemicals, so many things. So the main thing that suppose you have banned the like most of their tech sector. Suppose we have banned out Google. So what they will do it, that they will just they will just not pull you to that. Okay, we don't, okay, you don't want to use us, so don't use us, they will simply tell us. But what the thing, they have taken the leverage of that, that if you did have, if you could ban out that, then we have also at that hand, and we will cut the hand, and you will as like totally busted out that. And it's like that. Suppose you're as like you are holding another one as like hand, and you said that if you don't want as like, could I as like uh, hold off your hand, I want to just keep off your hand away. So it has like, it has a, like if you have hold his hand, then it's not like that. That person one has not like like hold of anything to you, anything, any part of you. It has just holden the whole your arm, whole arm. Okay, so if you just put a small arm, so it has as like pull, as like it has a like hold of your whole arm. So if you just simply hold of his arm, so it will uh, as like totally keep off your arm, and you will go got totally unstable. Okay, that's type of system that works today. Okay, so measure like resources, measure sectors. It's like you have seen out the how the US control the oil. And if you do anything, that it will as like do many restrictions. It will try to as like showcase you many restrictions that you can't buy anything from the world. And suppose it just sanction out you that India, if you do anything, okay, it will just say to India, you are just sent out for using the dollar. You can't use it, and I am sanctioning you. And it will just tell the other countries of the world, hey, don't accept dollar from the India. If you accept the dollar, we will also restrict you. So what they do, there is no option for the other countries even of India. Okay, then after uh, we are as like mentioning to call out the topic. It's like uh, what are the factors that why the US want to control the world, uh, and why when you see out regularly, it is totally in a way to invade the many countries and take the control of the various countries. When you say the case of Venezuela, and right now Iran, and even if you see in the previous decades, it has flown out many governments from the seats and taken out his puppet government in that country. So why the US doing that? What the thing that make any country to go through that process? Okay, so when you see these things, okay, so suppose you have bunch of resources, okay, bunch of resources, and you are controlling the bunch of resources. So in your village, and you are the most richest person in the world. Okay. And some persons are like against you. So what do you do? If you have lot of resources, you have lot of land, and they are as like they are like a neighbors, your neighbors, okay. Not your as like geographical neighbors, but resourceful neighbors, because they are just in a key area of your resources. So it must for you that you have to maintain the peace from them, peace agreements from them, uh, trade agreements from them, and they should be your puppet. It's not like be that, hey, they shouldn't be tell you that, hey, hey, can I take your resources? Could and they shouldn't be as like a comply on your resources, that and make the resources to be like, hey, in the past it was my resources, it was my resource, so they will fight with you. So that type of thing, the US knows closely that if the government isn't be as like in his support, so they will comply these resources, and they will just sort out the resources. And any country is like, suppose be that today, when you talk about US, it is totally because like most of the part of the oil in a Venezuela, it has taken the control of US oil, okay, sorry, Venezuelan oil. So now in a Venezuelan resources area, so the US wanted to be like that. Most of the countries should be in his favor, not be as like in his animation. If any country came out to be in his as like a enemy, as a part of enemy, so it's the US has to be like, they just eliminate out their enemies, or to change that power that should be in his hand, okay. So that the factor that everyone to led to invasion, that yeah, if I have resource, it should be protected. And how it should be protected, the man who's just behind it, it should be our puppet. So that type of thing that US is like uh, using. And when you talk about how the US is taking control of the thing, so when you see the things, suppose uh, when I talk about in the Indian subcontinent region, especially, and I'm in Uttar, like UP side. So I have heard about the thing like most of the people acquire the lands of other one, okay, and it's not like you would just simply go and acquire the land of others. As like right now, as like it's comply as like little bit of us like most of the name of the land has been given to the nominee, whatever the whoever one. But in the previous decade, lot of land mafias is like in UP. In the same way, the US take control of the resources, not in the same way, but it's like a same. Okay, suppose there are a lot of resources in a region like suppose uh, South America. Okay, uh, suppose there is a Latin America, and it is a mining. There is a mining contract. So the US said, "Oh, there is a lithium mining. There is a lithium as like ore, and we want this. And the future is like of lithium is so much it's like attractive, and the most of the countries will are like probably depend on that. So the what the US will need, the government which is in Latin America, suppose. So if the US, if that government is in the favor of US, of course they will sell out to US. Okay, will they will just said that, yeah, US, you are our most like prominent member. You are my most prominent friend. Why wouldn't we give you? So, and if the government is not there in there as like supportive, they're supportive for them, they will just totally eliminate them, the upper heads. And if if not that supposed to, if that not so, they will just change out by doing so much uh, protest, so much is like uh, so much other options are also there. When you talk about the case of the country like Ukraine, there was also a case that when the Ukrainian government was not in the support of the US, they just changed out the government as the same as that they could do out. Okay. Then after, when we talk about recent in the news, it's a one of the I think so. most of the people take interest of that topic. Why US is like attacking Iran? Why the US need to be like, why I should need to as like attack the, suppose I am living here and I have no geographical threat. Suppose my village is like when I talk about my village in Padrona, okay, that is a sub city in Kusinak, and I am going to attack a country, like a city that is outside my state in a, like Mumbai. So what the logic that I would like to attack the Mumbai? Why? So the thing is that the US knows the Iran is like emerging as powerful country with its drone. When you see the drones of Iran, it is mostly advanced drones. It's like many countries haven't that. It is competing as like it's a international level competing drones that even the Russia buys from the Iran. So the US knows, and one of the key factor is like nuclear power. In that region, if the Middle East region, if anyone was like emerge as a, suppose anyone emerge as a nuclear power, so what a threat the US has is like when you see the proxy groups like Hezbollah, as like ISIS and Al Qaeda. These groups are totally as like mostly supported by the Iranian led country, and the US totally knows. And if these groups anyway gotten this nuclear weapons, they will, how they will hold it, the US knows totally. And suppose if any day Iran has gotten to know the technology of nuclear bomb, and if anyway it has just sold out to these proxy groups, how much threat the US has, and the US totally knows what are the reasons that how the proxy groups has been led out. It the most of the prominent reason is US, because when you see the Al Qaeda, when you see the uh, ISIS, when you see the Hezbollah, these all are the groups, all the whenever they have emerged out, one of the prominent hand was of the US. So he knows, if any way, if these proxy groups get it, they will just first of the target will be US, or their as like whatever the country he is supporting, as like Israel or some other countries. One of their true members are there. So US is like to determine that Iran should be uh, demilitarized, or whatever the planning that Iran is leading, we should like eliminate all the nuclear threats from Iran, so that we shouldn't comply to the threats in the future threats, and the proxy groups that whatever emerging shouldn't get the control. Okay. And whenever US came out, you heard about Donald Trump, because he's a prominent one. So in a recent way, has like he have even said, maybe this war will continue for 3 or 4 weeks, and we would determine that Iran should be Iran's as like navies should be totally destroyed. Whatever the nuclear threats that US has should be totally destroyed, and even of that he has totally concluded. Whatever as like even no any president of a US directly said it about that, whatever the life we would comply, we would lost. Yeah, and of course he said, yeah, of course we would lost various American soldiers, but it is our for future, and we would totally determined for that. And when then after at the last point, when we talk about diplomacy of US, that we have seen out that how the US is totally taking control of the resources and whatever the hegemony that he has pulled out to the through to the other countries. So one of the key messages for the India is that, what are the key messages from for India is that how could we as like keep out ourselves from these challenges, and in future we would not stack to that type of problems. So what are the things that we should comply on that, and what are the changes that we should put on? So one of the factor uh, that you will see that in a recent ways like AI summit has been held, So one of the imminent threat that I think that is from US is like AI sovereignty. What are the challenges that India is facing out is one of them is AI sovereignty. When you talk about why we need AI sovereignty, so when I even right now I'm making the videos, it's not my platform, it's the US platform. It is the US that whatever he's hearing. And even if I as like if I would as like comply them for the as an eminent threat, they will totally destroy me as like they are taking the control of everything. As the same way, why the AI sovereignty is needed, and you know that how the India is totally as like implementing the digital technology, implementing the digital AI softwares, and various things. So when you talk about data sources, okay, so when you will get to us like amazed out that whatever the data sources that uh, when I talk before of that, let me discuss about uh, whatever the AI chatbots has been made, whatever the AI resources are made, they are just trained out on a data. So how the company will get the data? It's the customer based data. So you will get to know that around 20% of data that has been taken out from the world, around 20% of the world data has been from India. So you would get to amaze that how how vast amount of data, how huge amount of data from India is going to US. It is not the India who's taking control of the its own data. Whatever the photos you have in your phone, uh, whatever sim you have, whatever the name you have, whatever the place you are living, whatever the job you are doing, whatever you are eating, this all the things, they have the resources to get out to you. Even in the recent Iranian regime, whatever the US exploded the war, even the AI has helped a lot to the US to sanctioning out various places as like. And even when the as like a president, as like a, yeah, prime minister or president, I don't have as like guess out, Khamenei, as like that type of name he has been eliminated from in Iran by the US. By which thing? It was the AI, Claude AI, is like it was used. So you would get to know it's not you who'd controlling the things. It is the US that whatever he knows about you, even you don't know about he as like he knows much more than you. And whatever the thing you think of, it's more prominent that he would have probably think about. So how would you get out? It's the AI sovereignty. We have our own models, we have our own data centers, that we are controlling our own data. And we, of course, we need uh, sovereign as like apps like Google, where we could search out, apps like WhatsApp, where could we message out, apps like Facebook, where we could connect out. It's not as like you should you if in spite of eliminating these things, we should have options that should be sovereign. And then after, one of the thing as like when we talk about sovereign like AI, then after, one of the thing that I also think believe of, we should have our sovereign policies, that we should take our own decisions, whatever the as like in a previous one, as like when the US has sanctioned out us on buying Russian oil. So yeah, of course, as like I was totally comply on the Indian policies, that yeah, we have our own policies, we should have our own decisions, that whatever in our favor we would take on, and whatever it doesn't be in favor, we would just eliminate out. Because isn't it that I have my own choices, and isn't that I should take care of my people, that whatever the people wanted, whatever the thing that they want, I should. And as like they have chosen the me, so why I shouldn't be as like comply to them in spite of the country who's out of my country. And then after, the last one is like, when you see out the things in reality, let be as like serious, these are the one of the serious topic, I think so. When you think of dependency, so let me see the most of the thing that you are dependent on. Yeah, it's a Chinese products that we are dependent on. And one of the thing that we are mostly dependent is the US led technology. When you see out the Google, when you see out the messaging apps, when you see out the technologies, when you see the various machineries, and even when you see the aircrafts, even we import our own engines to made our own as like the aircraft. We not we as like we need to import from the US or Western countries. What the matter is entire. So this is the most important thing that we should work on our like developing our own technology in spite of as like heavily dependent on US. Even the US should even the US want to be two ties like that, that India should be dependent on us, that it like if that we could take the more leverage from it. And then after, it's like the dependency is the most prominent threat that I think so for India. As like when you see the most of the thing, when you see out the products as like the hardware product, it is mostly China made, that whatever we import. But whenever we see the software technology, that whatever we have, we see that it's the US that we are totally important and totally as like dependent on its imports. So it's not that uh, that we can't as like totally rely on US for our